This book is literally the best book, in my opinion, that Sarah J Maas has ever written. Hello, favorite darling. Hi, welcome back to the Enchanted Booklands. My name is Renee, and today we're going to be talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses. And as a series and as individual books, I'm going to stay away from spoilers as much as possible. But when you get to the later books, it's kind of hard because of things that happen in book one. I'm going to try to keep it pretty brief. That way I don't spoil it. I will kind of put like a warning up on the screen whenever spoilers are coming. So basically after book one, it's just going to be spoilers there on out. But I'll give you a warning before I get started. So if you want to, click to the end where I tell you, about what I love so much about these books, you can do that. That way you're not spoiled. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and jump right in, and I will see you in just a second. So we're going to start with A Court of Thorns and Roses. So if you didn't know, A Court of Thorns and Roses is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I think as readers, everybody pretty much identifies with Belle. If you don't, please let me know, because I would love to get to know why you don't. Especially if you're like a big reader. There's not that many characters really out there that are just obsessed with reading. In movies, TV shows. You find it a lot in books, and that's because as writers, we love reading, we love books, we grew up on them, so of course, our characters are gonna like reading. So that's the main gist on that. As far as what the book's really about, it follows Farah, and she is very poor. That her family actually used to be rich, but her father basically is now a cripple and can't work, and I think like a business deal went bad, and so his creditors like broke his leg or something, and now he can't really work. The only way that they eat is because of Farah, and she goes into the woods and hunts. So one day while she's hunting, she sees a very big wolf, which she's pretty sure is a fairy, and she pulls out an ash arrow, which is the only thing. Ash is the only thing that'll keep like a fairy from like re-healing, so that you can actually kill them. So she shot this arrow at him, and he died. Later, the lord of that court comes and takes Farah to basically pay a debt. In all reality, there's actually a curse going on that they can't talk about, and she has to break the curse. And you learn more about that later in the book. I don't want to give too much away if you haven't read it. So at this point, if you haven't read it, there's gonna be some spoilers and some gushing over these two books. So if I were you and you haven't read the book and you are okay with spoilers, you can keep watching. But if you don't want spoilers, go ahead and skip. I'm going to put a time where you can skip to avoid those spoilers. Alright, so let's gush. A Court of Thorns and Roses is one of the best Beauty and the Beast retellings. I might be biased. There's a lot out there. Another one that I really like is Uprooted. Not everyone likes that. And I know that some people were kind of concerned about the relationship between Tamlin and Farah being like, controlling and everything. But you got to keep in mind that she is a human, just like Bella was in Twilight. I mean, her name is Bella, for crying out loud. So, what do you really expect? Anyways, so in a way, it has some similarities to Twilight. I mean, we're not doing vampires, we're doing fairies. This is really the first book where I really was reading about fairies, and it really got me into fairies. So if you never read fairies, I think this is a good kind of like entry point. However, if you want the classical like fantasy fairies, then I would probably steer you more towards Holly Black. And she does more of the typical like mythology and stuff around them and lore, while Sarah J Maas is basic. Fairies are more like elves, but they're considered fairies because there's basically no rules, while elves are like more moral, we'll put it that way. All right, so and then like I was saying, this book is literally the best book, in my opinion, that Sarah J Maas has ever written. Sequel to the first book, and I'm really trying, even through this, not to give too many spoilers. So I don't really want to talk about the climax here, just in case you decide to keep watching this and you haven't read it. But A Court in Thorns of Mist and Fury is the second book, and it's actually more of a Hades and Persephone retelling from what Sarah J Maas has said. Honestly, at first I had a hard time with the whole what was going on with Tamlin, okay? And that has to do with I liked Tamlin in book 1. I knew why he was trying to protect her, you know, because she's supposed to be saving their asses for this curse, right? So they think she's the one that's going to break the curse, and therefore she needs to be protected. She needs to survive long enough to break this curse, right? Okay, well, in this book, she's broke the curse. So in book 2, everybody's kind of had a lot of trauma, okay? So in this book, they're dealing with what happened in book 1. However, not everyone is handling their trauma well. I would say nobody really is. Some people handle it like a tiny bit better than others, but Feyre, she's really like depressed. She has anguish because of things she did in the end of book 1, and it's just really a big adaptation for her in this book. I mean, it's hard to really go into detail without giving everything away, but the romance in here I had a hard time with because I liked Tamlin in this book, and I hated seeing what his trauma was doing to him. They basically ruined his character in a way. I know a lot of people hate him, but a lot of people love him. I personally kind of like both of them. I do like Rhysand a lot. At first I had a hard time like being like, no, I don't want them together, you know, kind of thing. But this book, once I like legit gave it a chance, I was like, okay, yeah, I trust Sarah J Maas with all of her relationships here on out. And then the last book, which I'm not pulling out right now, because the third book is A Court of Wings and Ruin, and it's the third book which wraps up Feyre's story. In the 3 books, there's A Court of Frost and Starlight and A Court of Silver Flames, which follow a little bit of Nesta and Frost and Starlight, and it's mainly following Cassian and Nesta in Silver Flames. We're not going to talk about those books because the main books I'm talking about the first 3 and the original series. So these books this is my favorite, one of my favorite series. A Court of Mist and Fury is very special to me because of things in my personal life, okay? But that aside, we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about why I love it so much. So, I love A Court in Thorns and Roses because of the characters, the things they went through, the things they overcome, the sacrifice, the relationships. I mean, Feyre is... I would say that I liked Aelin from Throne of Glass a little bit more than Feyre. And maybe I had a little prejudice against her with everything that happened with Tamlin. I feel like they really should have tried to figure that out, like dealt with trauma differently. Maybe Tamlin was a little bit of the problem, but I kind of dislike Feyre from jumping from one guy to the other. But I can't complain because I love Rhysand so much. So it's just, I don't know. There's just something about Rhysand's like, swoon. And okay, let's be real. Rhysand is the reason I love this book so much. He is everything that someone who has gone through something like Feyre has, been in a controlling relationship, been in a very traumatic event, and having trouble dealing with those things. It's just he's just good. He has his own problems, but he doesn't let them control him the way Tamlin does, or control Feyre because of those things. So you gotta give credit to Rhysand, and I just love finding out what was really going through him and what he dealt with in the first book, when we were just following Feyre's point of view. So, he basically tells her in Court of Mr. Fury, what happened and how he was feeling, and how, what it was like for him. Which in the first book, we kind of see him as like a bad guy, right? But really, he's trying to save Feyre. He really is. So, hopefully, this is some kind of explanation to you as to why I love these books. I love the characters. That's where it comes down to. So I love the characters. I love Rhysand, and I just love the theme of these books. It's just, you can't duplicate this. You really can't. This is her masterpiece series, in my opinion. So of course she wrote A Thorn of Glass first. So of course it's not as good as like later books are going to be. So this is her second series. In my opinion, best series she's written yet. Crescent City, too soon to say. And until we really get at least halfway through that series, it's going to be hard to say if that one is better than this series. I mean, it's adult, so it's a whole like another thing. And they might be rebranding these as adult, but they're more like new adult. They read like YA. So they're easy to read. They're great. I could just devour these books like all the time, but I have to force myself not to read the same books over and over. Otherwise, I'll never read any of these books on my shelves. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. If you don't like Thorns and Roses, please let me know down below, why you don't like it. If you do like it, let's gush, and I'll see you next time. Bye!